Hey, Cryptonauts! Welcome back to another episode of Cryptocurrency Chat. This is episode 460 on November 16th, 2020. Jake Jabarelli, and with me, as always, is Blockchain John. How you doing, John?
Hey, I'm a little bit under the weather, but we'll get through this, right? Whack me all day, every day. Yeah.
So let's get over to Decrypt, which we've been using a lot more lately because they've seemed to be a little bit more consistent
hmm Yeah.
and tend to be more about U.S. news. So
Let's go with the first
I'll
one
lead
here.
us
This
off with the
one's,
U.S. Bank.
yeah,
Yeah.
first one's written by Jason Nelson. U.S. Banks launches a digital dollar blockchain pilot. Now, yeah, this has actually been in the works for a few years now. And now it's finally here. It's finally here. We even have a tweet down here from Edward Snowden. It begins. Bum bum bum. He knows. That's what this whole if you see him tweet something, it's probably a conspiracy. So what is the conspiracy? We can make up a bunch of stuff about the whole government trying to control the world with their digital dollar. Bum bum bum. Or is it just the next evolution of currency? That's the question. What do you
It,
think? What do you
it
think we're
feels like
going?
both. It feels like a control center, and it feels like the next evolution.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think you're right there. Is it too soon, too quick, or is it one of those things that is it not the right time now, or is right now the perfect time to be doing this? If I would
I think
have to,
they're trying to get ahead. They're trying to get ahead, right?
yeah,
And they already see what can happen when you do it wrong. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, well, yeah, I was going to agree with you on that. I think utilizing blockchain technology, which is what they're planning on doing, I believe it's going to be a private blockchain, which it is what it is. I'm not surprised by that either. I mean, it was pretty much written in the White House's white paper that that's what they were going to do. So now that it's here, you have all these big banks. You have HSBC, Mastercard, Wells Fargo, that are just the starting institutions. And you got additional banks down here below. You have BNY Mellon, Citi, PNC Bank, Swift, TD Bank. Was that
Truest.
Truist, and U.S. Bank.
Truest.
Yeah, and that's just starting it off. Obviously, it's going to expand a lot more as this pilot goes on and make sure that they fix the bugs here and there. Um, yeah, this is the new thing. We're here. It's the future's here. I'm personally not excited about it because I'm anti CBDCs or any kind of government trying to utilize CBDC technology. It pokes me the wrong way, and I don't want anything to do with it. I'm always
Well,
gonna
the
vouch for everybody.
one thing they did say is that the U.S. dollar, the green folding paper we've used forever, isn't going to go away
Yeah.
anytime soon.
hmm
But I would say at the same time, when was the last time you used green folding paper?
Actually, you're correct about that. That's it's funny because we just had a retirement party today at work for one of our coworkers, and it's everybody pitching some cash, and I'm literally looking at my wallet, and I just have two crumpled up $5 bills in there. I go, okay, this is all. I literally don't carry cash. This is just like spare change that I've had in my wallet for a very long time. I apologize that I don't have more money to pitch in, but everybody pitching about $10. Coincidentally, I have $10 in my wallet. That's all I have. So now I have no dollars in my wallet, and I don't know when the next time I'm going to go to the bank because I don't use cash. So yeah.
I was going to say the same thing. Is that I think for the longest time I had my grandmother gave me maybe 2 years ago a $100 bill, brand new one of the newer format $100 bills when she was still around.
hmm
She passed in January of this year, but she gave that. It was just like, here you go, honey. Thanks for doing whatever it is you do. It was like great, fiat. Not that I was expecting her to give me crypto, but the fact is she was an all cash person her entire life. She
hmm
didn't really use
hmm
banks at all. She wrote checks, but not even all that often. She pretty much dealt only in cash.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, what am I gonna do with this? So I folded it up really neatly, flattened it as hard as I possibly could, and
hmm
buried it in my car. And so I had cash technically if I needed it. And I was like, I guess if I ever have an emergency, I can use this $100 bill. And then an emergency came up where I needed $100, or not quite, but more than 50 I needed for something. I didn't have my wallet with me, or my phone for that matter. And I was like, I'm glad I buried that $100 bill in my
Mm.
car. But yeah, the problem we're running into with this digital currency thing is, at what point do we get forced to have to use it? So it's like, right, we're all using dollars, but we're not using physical dollars right now. But I mean, so really, the majority of the populace, is it really going to be that bad? Probably not. But what you're running into is the concern, right? The concern would always say in our show, or probably would say if he hasn't said it already, is you're giving up all your control. They can, even though you would technically have your quote money in your quote wallet, right? Your CBDC money is
Mm.
going to be in your wallet. It's still technically their network.
Yeah.
It means
It,
they
it,
can
it,
turn it off, and then you have no money.
and that's pretty much you're reiterating what Eric Voorhees has stated on the Decrypt podcast. So he's the founder of Shapeshift. I've used that. I've actually lost crypto on there because for whatever reason the transaction didn't go through. I didn't get my Litecoin back, but that's a different story. Let's just I'm still a little sour about Shapeshift. I just brought back some old memories. Anyways, aside from that, he's talking about the whole CBDC is an Orwellian spy surveillance nightmare, which that's more or less where I'm leading to because as you and I know, blockchain is a public ledger. Well, in this case, it's going to be a private ledger. Regardless, it's a ledger of transactions showing the government what kind of transactions we're doing, who we're doing it with, when we're doing it with, what we're purchasing with it. That's just a little too much for any human being's comfort. But surprising, it wouldn't surprise me that people will adopt it, especially when it gets to the point where, hey, I'm retiring, but it's too expensive to withdraw cash, so I'm just going to use this whole, or for example, the CBDC is going to be your retirement debit card. Here you go. This is how we do this. Or if you want like welfare support, here's your
Yeah, if you
card.
want social some kind of support, then you're stuck with this method.
And I think that's how it's going to start. Always start off with the weakest and the needy most, and
Yeah, if
then
you're
expand
on
it from there. But
well, if you're
that's
on
this,
disability
yeah.
or Social Security.
And
Yeah,
of course they're going to take it because they're in need of these services. So, if the government's giving them a card on the front end, it's not gonna feel any different than just swiping your own personal credit card, your bank card. The CBDC card is going to be the same thing. Unless unless the government decides that if you want this, you got to implant this chip in your brain. Okay, the whole scan, and then you'll probably feel a little different. I don't know about that. All right, let's move on over to the next news here. This is kind of
let's go
interesting.
to
Go ahead.
Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini warns customers of likely withdrawal delays due to Genesis lending pause. So yeah, Gemini, what was it? Crypto exchange Gemini warned customers today that there might be delays with the withdrawals on the Earn product. So I think you know a little bit more about this
Yeah.
than I
So
did, but
so what happened is obviously, as you guys know, last week FTX filed for Chapter 11. They went bankrupt. They don't have no funds, and Genesis was one of those companies that was dependent on FTX, and since they went bankrupt, that means Genesis can no longer provide their service, which is the Earn feature within Gemini. So now Gemini customers are like, hey, what's going on? How come we can't earn anymore? Well, Gemini paused that feature because Gemini's not providing that service anymore. And that's pretty much what comes down to this. And that's what a lot of people, I didn't know this. Actually, that's one of the focus features of Gemini, why people use Gemini is to earn rewards. I didn't know this, but so it wouldn't surprise me now that that's not a feature because they don't have Genesis or other companies that are providing, that earn feature. A thing? Are they going to be able to profit off of their customers? I don't know. They might go under. Not that it seems like they're affected by
Gemini,
it.
maybe Gemini has a a significant investment from FTX. But Gemini was started by the Winklevoss twins,
The
and so
Winklevoss twins.
they were independently wealthy before they
Oh
got into
yeah,
this.
for
So
sure.
I'm not saying that they didn't buy a lot in FTX.
They
But
were one of the early ones to have a lot of Bitcoin. So I think you know more about the Winklevoss history than I do about how they were involved with Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, you want to just talk about that real quick, and then how they got into
Well,
Bitcoin?
just briefly, the reason they even have over $1 billion is because they sued Zuckerberg, saying, and they did have an early participation, but it's like I've said so many times, if the product doesn't sell or doesn't become supremely popular, no one's going to sue you, or at least hardly
Yeah,
anybody's going to.
yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
the reason they sued Zuckerberg was because they felt like that they got out too early on the project, that they were somehow owed because they were heavily involved in Facebook before it became popular. So they sued him. Like, well, we own this, and it's like, no, you didn't, but they still won. So they're over to Bitcoin and invested heavily in Bitcoin really early in
Hmm.
Bitcoin's
Hmm. Yeah,
beginnings,
I think Bitcoin
and
was
they are
under.
not $20 billion because they
Mhm.
invested so early in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was in the hundreds of dollars. I think it was like $200, $300 when they were buying Bitcoin. So they were buying a lot of Bitcoin at that time. Yeah. So are they solvent or what? What's going on? Huh?
They're I
Hmm.
think they're each worth about $3 billion. Each twin is worth $3 billion. So their combined value, that's just them personally, not necessarily their business. So yeah, they got money to burn and money to lose, but not as much as Sam Bankman-Fried, but they still made the early decision to build up Gemini in order to make it into an early crypto interface. Which I will say that what 4 or 5 years ago, I did a Gemini account, but I've never put any money on it because I
Hmm.
never liked them. It's
Hmm.
like, oh great, you have an exchange to make yourselves money. Great guys, woo!
Yeah, I used it a couple times just because, I'm one of those guys that likes to just test everything out. And the newest shiny exchange that was out there was Gemini. I said, okay, let me just try this and see how it works. And I agree with you. It wasn't for me. I felt like it was limited in comparison to other exchanges that are already out there that had way more options available to me. So I'm like,
We're trying to
it's
do things more by the book.
yeah.
I don't blame them for that, but it also meant that their offerings were limited.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
And that's what
and there also been this long time, they and what's his name, Draper. Is it
yeah.
Alan Draper?
Tim.
Tim Draper and the Winklevoss twins were both these people who said that by the end of 2020, sorry, 2022, the price of Bitcoin would be a quarter million dollars.
Hmm.
Don't think that's going to happen. Just me. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before
Don't
on
say
this
that.
on this
Don't
podcast,
say
but
that.
I have this strong feeling like it's not going to happen. So
That's what you said last time. No, I have
I
high
said it
hopes.
wasn't going to happen. This time I'm saying I have a strong feeling it's not going to happen. So
I have a strong feeling that it will go past $100,000.
eventually, but
Uh,
not before the end of this year.
no, no, on the next on the next bull run, yeah, yeah,
The next bull run, I can definitely see it breaking 70,000, which is where it was last time. So
mhm, yeah.
I would not be surprised by that. But that doesn't mean I'm going
You
to
know
be a
what's
Bitcoin
interesting?
maximalist. I don't like Bitcoin. So
Just to go on a side tangent about what's going on currently, and this is not obviously part of the news, but this is just going off of just my thoughts right now. So with FTX collapsing, so obviously we're already in crypto winter, right? So that was already affecting the market. The market was already shaken up by private investors leaving it because there's no more funds because the banks aren't giving free money anymore. So they're like, okay, we're not investing into crypto anymore. So that was taking part. Crypto winter's taking part, and then you got a bunch of DeFi protocols being hacked and hundreds of millions of dollars vaporizing there. Well, not vaporizing, but they're being moved and washed elsewhere. And now you got exchanges with the FTX just destroying the whole crypto ecosystem. Not only that, now that Bitcoin is at 16,500 or roughly around there, Jake, you as a miner know that when the market drops down, um, 30%, and you're kind of dependent as a company on that 30%. You lose that 30%. That's a big chunk of money. That means what you're currently holding, you gotta make up for that. So that 30% where you got to pay your bills, your employees, your hardware, you got to take care of all that stuff. Where you gonna cover, right? You got a cost to cover. You got to liquidate some coins. You got to liquidate that Bitcoin. So on top of everything that's going on, we got a bunch of miners, giant companies that have a lot of Bitcoin that's dumping their coins in the market, and it's only going to go down more and more. So that's what sucks. That's the part that does suck. Excuse me. That's the part that does suck. That it's only going to get worse for these companies, and I don't want to see companies go under, especially a mining company. You know, I'm a big supporter of mining companies. I think they're awesome. I think it's the best thing out there to keep, especially the network, decentralized. I hate to see that there's only a handful of companies that are going to exist, that are going to dominate the network. As of right now, surprisingly, off the top of my head, 40+% of the Bitcoin network is being dominated by Google and Amazon cloud services. Ain't that crazy, dude? Ain't that crazy?
Not really.
It was never like that before. Before it was Bitmain, and now it's, you know, you got.
I told you this recently, didn't I? I don't know, maybe it was definitely not on the show. But the thing that really blew my mind recently was that you can make more money off of mining with XMR than you can with a GPU.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It's so freaking insane. Now, does that mean that you can go over and use like AWS or Google Cloud to mine? Yes, you can, because they have a lot of AMD based processors. It still blows my mind to say that, you know, with a not a really old, but a relatively maybe 5-6 year old, you know, Intel Xeon or AMD EPYC server, you can make more money than the cost to mine right now, which is really weird because it used to be all GPUs, but because we have a huge glut of GPUs coming off Ethereum, it's not that practical anymore. So, anyways.
Now the question is GPU mining still going to be a thing in the future?
Yes, I'm certain it is going to be. It's just going to have to change to something else. So, I mean, a lot of people right now, in fact, I don't even mind admitting it because you know, Evermore is doing well enough for itself. That EVR Ever is, even though it doesn't, if you look up for Ever on CoinGecko, it doesn't come up the way we know it. It comes up as something else. But
right.
It's really practical for NVIDIA. NVIDIA GPUs right now are doing a very good job with Evermore. It's not nearly as valuable as mining, ironically, Dynamo. Dynamo is still worth more. It's just that the market is so small. But the mining Evermore has been taking over for NVIDIA GPUs lately. So that in Meowcoin.
You know what's surprising about that? Oh, speaking of Meowcoin, so one of the developers, actually the main developer of Meowcoin is one of the developers for EVR.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the main developer. So obviously, so Meowcoin has people behind it that have all these coins, but they needed a developer. So they found this developer that's obviously, you know, hurting for money just like everyone else right now. And he's skillful enough to work with blockchain. I think he just he's finishing up his master's degree. Yeah. With like computers. I forgot the exact program that he's completing, but it's gotten him this far where now he's being paid by Meowcoin to be the main developer. Keep in mind that he's also working with Ravencoin and EVR Evermore.
So because I watched the GPU mining space so much, and mining in general, the thing that really threw me off is if you know, using what to mine, which I've used many times. I'll pull up on the screen here real quick. Is that Kaspa is actually leading Meowcoin. I had gotten into Kaspa right after the Ethereum merge.
KASPA?
KASPA.
Yeah.
And actually, Kaspa is doing quite a bit better, but it's also because the price of Kaspa has gone up so much lately. I think if you pull up CoinGecko, which I'll pull over here real quick, Kaspa in the last 3 months? No, last month has gone from 0.02 to 0.07 or 0.007.
Wow.
0.02 to 0.007 in price, so it's tripled in price, and that's the reason Kaspa is now more profitable to mine than Meowcoin is. It doesn't mean that as of right now, you'll make any money on it if your cost of energy is anything north of 10 cents per kilowatt hour. But yeah, it's it's funny because I was like, I put that number in, and I put in any number of GPUs, and I was like, you can make some money. It's very little. Like Caspa, if you had no electricity costs, would be like 20 cents per, I don't know what the hash rate is, but it's significantly higher than Meowcoin at the moment, and that's only because the price of Caspa is so high. So, at least it's gone up a lot lately.
And that was a rant on mining. Let's head on over to the next news here.
Move on to
Actually, you want
Matt
to take
DeSalvo's
this?
House Committee. Okay, sure. House Committee calls on SBF, Binance to testify on, that is both SBF and Binance, to testify on FTX's collapse by Matt DeSalvo. So, yeah, quite a few people are, well, not a little interested, and or not just a little interested in this. What the heck is going on? Maxine Waters, Democrat, California, and Patrick Henry, or Mick Henry, sorry, that we've actually spoken about in the past,
Yes.
are both grilling Sam Bankman-Fried and Xingpeng Zhao on what the heck it is that's going on. So in this particular tweet, it says, breaking, Chairman Maxine Waters and Patrick McHenry announced December hearing to investigate FTX's collapse. And I'm guessing that, it says for immediate release, but it doesn't say when they're going to hold it. I don't know if it is. I didn't read the actual article, but yeah, that kind of stuff is kind of I feel like Gary Gensler has been holding off the rest of Congress from really digging deep into what the heck's going on.
Well,
like, where are the two senators who were so proud to introduce their crypto coin bill? Why aren't we talking about that?
Yeah. Well, he's also being investigated too by the FBI, if I'm not mistaken. They're doing cross-examination on the SBF and Sam Bankman-Fried. SBF and GG.
Yeah, CG. Oh, GG, Gary Gensler, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of Changpeng Zhao because he has some knowledge of what was going on. Obviously, Binance did some looking into the assets of FTX.
From what I understand, if Twitter is the all-telling truth, the all-seeing eye telling the truth, which just take it with a grain of salt. From what I've heard, CZ actually knew about this, and it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of other big companies out there knew this, but they just didn't want to come forward with it. They knew that this was actually happening, like as early as the beginning of the year, but nobody really wanted to tilt the
talk about it.
Yeah. Tilt the cereal bowl because everybody was enjoying breakfast,
Yes, the benefits, right? So they're just like, okay, it's in the, but we'll just enjoy it until it can't be enjoyed any longer. So like the very end of the article says that the company has less than $1 billion in assets, backed by the $10 billion in liabilities.
It's crazy because now there's a lot of news on FTX, and I guess now the Bohemian government wants to I guess confiscate the case. Or confiscate? No, that's not the right word. They want to take over the case and keep it within, I guess,
within their jurisdiction.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, you look at U.S. government. We know that we're territory there, but we're all going to handle this. Thank you very much.
Look at this photo. Oh man, interesting. And now he has to sit in front of them and testify as to what happened. But what's interesting is that he's the way he looks like here is the way that I feel that he's tweeting, like actively tweeting right now, looking like this. For him it's almost like a joke, and people are furious because their companies are going bankrupt. They're affected by FTX. They're affected by these poor decisions that they made with Alameda, and that's thousands and thousands of people that are just upset, emotional. People are just devastated that this is happening. And then you see this face, and then you see him playing games on Twitter with this whole secret encryption, like try to decipher what I'm talking about while I get to enjoy my breakfast and then sleep all day and then play video games whenever I feel like. That's literally what he's talking about and what he's doing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like at least with Celsius, with Alex Mashinsky, he kept it professional the whole way through. He didn't come out publicly like that. This guy, I don't know, man. This is it's childish, if you ask me. It's but I mean, I don't have any crypto in FTX. I got lucky on that.
Yeah.
Only because I couldn't get through KYC. For whatever reason, I couldn't get through it. And the bot just kept kicking me out. I was like, okay, fine. I won't even deal with you guys.
Yeah.
Then.
You were prevented from a worse fate. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I couldn't get in, but I'm grateful I didn't. So
Yeah.
maybe some fate was keeping me out, or some higher force was keeping me from
It's like
throwing my money at this idiot.
look. So here's oh my god. Here's another. Should I just go with this tweet? No.
Just from his actual.
So
I'm only seeing it on Twitch. I'm not seeing it on my side. So
yeah. So the thing is, he's having private DMs with people with his so-called friends, and they're screenshotting the stuff and pretty much dumping it on Twitter. So that's kind of what, like, at this point, it kind of sucks for him because he can't trust his friends. He can't trust anybody now because everything that he says is going to be screenshot and dumped on the internet and will possibly be used as evidence against him if he has any confessions made there, right? So here's a little tweet or a DM here. So this is from SBF. He says, you said a lot of stuff about how you wanted to make regulations just good ones. That was pretty much just PR too. Actually, no, his response was here. There's no one really out there making sure good things happen and bad things don't. Usually there's only one toggle, do more or do less. Yeah, just PR. F regulators, they make everything worse. They don't protect customers at all. Yeah, well, maybe if the company was properly regulated, this issue wouldn't be happening now, would it?
Oh, it's not that it wouldn't happen. It just it would be slower to have happened. It happens so quickly, most likely, because people would be like, no, you can't do that. And you can't do that either. And, gambling with your customers' money is not a good idea.
So there was another thing. You know how he was in talks with Gigi? They were in the process within like by the end of the year there was a lot of talk about coming out with a FTX stablecoin. And so that was supposed to come out to be the lifesaver of SBF's issue, right? And Alameda's issue. They were going to use that instead of the FTT token, using a FTX stablecoin. That's
right.
I don't know if it was going to work, but if it did go through, they probably would have been able to go on for a little longer. But still, the way that they're practicing their work was probably one of the worst ways to do it, which is pretty much like a Ponzi scheme. So from what I understand, the companies were going to FTX because you gotta keep in mind, yeah, he's a bad guy now, but just literally a month ago, he was like the front page a model boy that everybody loved. He's amazing, right? Everybody trusted him. Nobody questioned him. So you go to this company, you're like, you're one of the biggest stars out there. I want to invest into your company. Let me buy into your company. He goes, sure, why not? Here, yeah, we'll take this. But you got to leave. You got the company, the FTT tokens that you're buying off of us. You got to leave it on the FTX exchange. So they'll take the fiat that is supposed to stay on FTX because it's FTX property. It's the customers or the investors' property. But what they did was they'll transfer it over to Alameda, which will then in turn. Excuse me. Sorry. Let me backtrack. Let me do that again. So Alameda would be the one getting these investors, right? So once they get that money, they'll tell the investors that they would have to keep the FTT tokens on FTX on the exchange, and then they'll pretty much just double up on that money and then get the next person out to invest. That's just it's straight up Ponzi scheme, man.
Anyways, moving on to our last little article. Is the SONY files. SONY files a patent.
Sorry, I don't have that one up yet. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you did. You're the one who wrote it down, right?
Yeah, I clicked it out. Oh, sorry. Okay, this one's real from Jason Nelson. Sony files patent for tracking in-game digital assets with NFTs. Now, Sony actually, I think we've read a few Sony articles already in the past. And Sony's actually been highly active with blockchain technologies and NFTs, and now they're just building up on that. And it wouldn't surprise me if they would be the first company out, the first big conglomerate company to come out with a AAA game on blockchain technology. That would be awesome. That would be a lot of money, but that would be pretty cool to see something come out from Sony. So imagine having the ability to use your NFT to play online. You obviously, let's say like the RPG games, right? You get to build up your characters, right? On top of that, it's your NFT on your wallet, meaning that after you play the game enough and you build up your character, you can take that NFT and sell it on the exchange. For example, this is what I was doing with Ethermon. You know, I would get my little mons and I would go battle them and level them up, and then if I wanted to, I can sell them on the market. I never sold any of mine, but yeah, I still have my guys. They're still on my wallet. You know, I don't play the game anymore because Ethereum's too expensive, right? But regardless of that, I still have them. That's the beauty part about it. If I wanted to sell them, I've invested some time into the game where I can actually make a profit off of them, which is pretty cool, right? You can't do that with games currently. You know, well, actually, isn't you played World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
Can you? I think you can sell. I haven't played it, but I think you can sell items off of there, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
All right. World of Warcraft never allowed you to sell outside the game. It was Diablo. Diablo allowed you to sell for real fiat currency for a short time, and they don't let you do it anymore. The only way that you can get money in and out of World of Warcraft is to buy and sell tokens within the game. So you can pay, I think it's $20 a token with fiat and get a certain amount of gold in the game, or you can sell the gold on the market for a token, where you're basically buying the token, where you can buy the token itself, and then that gold that person goes to the person who was looking to get gold in the game. And it also, what you can do with those tokens is you can use them for game time, or you can use them for money within the Blizzard ecosystem. So technically, the money only goes in; it doesn't go out. You can't sell digital items in Blizzard's Warcraft for real life money. You can get real life money, but any real life money you get has to be used to buy things within the game or merchandise from Blizzard. So it doesn't really work the way that it would be nice if it did. But I mean, the Sony concept, people who play Sony games, I don't play any of them anymore. I used to, though. I thought it was brilliant, because it's like, if you can make NFTs that you can either switch around with other games or even just sell to people outside, then the economy works within the game. The problem with this, when we saw this with that game that was associated with Russian rubles, I can't remember the name of the game now. Someone will probably correct me. And the ruble went up drastically in inflation because of the war. Game's token in the game also went up just as bad, because it was tied to the real life version or real life value of the Russian ruble. So it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing for the game, because then the economy of the game is dependent upon the economy of life. Games aren't supposed to be dependent on real life. So, yeah, like I think there was a vote recently in Upland where they said, hey, does everybody want the token to be used for a different purpose? And I think most people voted yes on that. I haven't looked at the results yet, but I voted yes for it. I was like, yeah, I would like the token to be more restrictive. So we'll see if that goes through. But at the same time, at least there's a way to vote for it. But yeah, I think this is brilliant. I think that Sony's... It
absolutely is. It's one of those things that NFTs is not dead. Here's a prime example. And the reason I actually say that, because everybody all over Twitter is saying, you know, NFTs are dead. We were just talking off air, actually behind the scenes on Twitch, saying that this whole Bored Ape that was worth $1.2 million is now worth what, just like a little over $500,000?
No, it's worth 70,000.
70. Wow, 70,000. Yeah.
It went
Wow.
down 20x, so 5% of its
Wow.
original value is what it's worth now.
Wow. So yeah, but that's pretty much across all NFTs. Like nothing's really as valuable as it was in its prime. Everything kind of came down overall in its
Well, it's because
top
it
value.
was artificially inflated, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care if companies like Sony or Ubisoft use NFTs in their games.
Mm-hmm.
The point is to make adaptability more possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Now,
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
whether or not it's monetization, that's possible. But really, I mean, there is a sense of value in this. And think about it from the standpoint of playing a Blizzard game.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a top tier player in Blizzard's games, and it was possible for you to sell that top tier character that you created in the game to a person who had the money, and that might be something realistic to do. But the problem Blizzard had stated, and the reason that they stopped allowing people to sell things out to the game is because then the game became only for the rich, right? And the people who had enough time to play enough to get that kind of gear. So it's like you then become slaves to the rich, like almost everything else in the world. And then the people who just want to play the game because they just want to play the game end up going into things like PvP and high level stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
they can't compete because the rich people just came in and bought everything.
Yeah.
That was the same complaint I had about Decentraland. I wanted to buy land in Decentraland.
Yeah, but
There's
early
no way to
investors.
do it
Yeah.
because the rich people came and bought it all up.
Yep. All the whales came in.
No
For
opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is sad because
So
literally, like the majority of land was sold during their ICO. Like by the time they actually opened up the platform, you couldn't buy anything because everything was sold to the whales. It's like wow. That's
same thing
crazy.
with what was it? Sandbox
Yeah.
game. And now the reason I still argue for Upland is because Upland still gives people the opportunity. You can't once you exceed 100,000 UPX in Upland, you can't buy the new land, the land that's only for new players.
Mm-hmm.
So new players start with I think 6,000 UPX and can use like one piece of land. They're mandated to hold off on selling it for real dollars for like 4 months. You can sell that one piece of land for maybe 2 to 5% over buying cost, get your money back, buy another piece of land, and then slowly build up over time. And that's deliberate. Or if you want to, you can just buy a bunch of UPX and become a whale, which a lot of people have done, and it's perfectly legit. But there's still some land that no one can buy except new players. And in my opinion, if Blizzard wanted to do this, or if Sony is going as they already are doing, takes a hint from Upland, I think that they preserve the game for players, so that they don't just ruin it by all the whales coming in and just taking everything.
Yeah.
So
I want to I want to read a little bit on this article here just to give a little more
sure.
context of what Sony's doing. So it says according to the applications, so because they filed a patent or not a patent, they filed a was it a patent? It was
The patent.
yeah, patent. Yeah, okay. So according to the application, Sony wants to use distributed ledger or blockchain to record digital media assets, gameplay, and video clips, and include a unique token for the digital items with a unique identifier and metadata that would identify properties of the digital asset. Non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, are cryptographically unique tokens linked to digital and physical content, providing proof of ownership for things like artwork, music, memorabilia, and items in video games. While the filing is only for a patent, it shows Sony is interested in entering the growing NFT gaming field. According to CoinGecko, the top NFT games are also known as play-to-earn games, include Axie Infinities, Alien Worlds, Step In, and the Sandbox. And that's what you're talking about earlier. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I could only like if Sony actually came out with a AAA game like they currently have with like for example God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero, The Last of Us, Monster Hunter World, or Ghost of Tsushima, those are some big AAA games. If they came out with those on Web3, oh dude, they would just destroy everything else.
Someone's eventually going to do that. It's going to happen. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's a little bit longer than our normal show. We only had 4 articles this time, but that's fine. We just want to talk about. I mean, it's not just news, but talking about the news and how it's relevant. So we appreciate everybody listening for this time or watching if you're on YouTube. or on our favorite library, or Odyssey.tv.
Actually,
Odyssey TV.
library might get shut down.
Well, library, yeah, but library.tv, not necessarily Odyssey though. Unless you know something I don't.
Or vice versa. It's vice versa.
Library.tv, I think, was shut down, whereas Odyssey is the replacement for what library was. The library protocol still exists.
So
I
so
don't
yeah,
think that's going to go anywhere.
library is going to be the one shut down. So excuse me. No. Odyssey is going to be the one shut down, and library will be the one left open. So library, the reason that they converted over to Odyssey is because they're able to censor NFSW videos, right? With library, you can't do that because that's strictly, it's blockchain. You can upload anything on IPFS and just distribute it there. Now, if to be a company, to be a legitimate company, they can't just have people uploading, people's murders or gun trafficking or weapons, drugs and stuff like that. You can't, like, that's not cool. You can't do that kind of stuff. So they had they built out Odyssey where they can actually censor that type of stuff off of there.
But you can technically download the Library TV
Yes.
app
Yes.
and use it indefinitely because it is completely decentralized and you do whatever you want.
Yes.
Whereas Odyssey.tv or Odyssey.com, which if you go to library.tv, it's going to redirect you to Odyssey.com.
Yes.
And it does, when you do that, it says Library TV has been retired. You've been magically transported over to Odyssey.com.
Yes.
So yes, they have the capability of blocking whatever content they want on Odyssey.com.
Yeah.
Just
So
like
I don't
YouTube.
know if they're gonna open up a library anytime soon because they would be. I'm assuming that the developers of library, even though it's decentralized, are still held liable for the content that's uploaded on there, which is why they created Odyssey to begin with. But now that Odyssey is going to be shut down, we'll see what happens.
Odyssey's not. It's Library.tv is going to be shut. You're saying where have you read that Odyssey.com is being shut down?
Well, isn't that what they've been talking about?
Oh, Library.tv was shut down. It's no longer even something you can visit. It just redirects to Odyssey.
Yeah, but Odyssey was in litigation for the longest time, and they lost that.
Oh, Odyssey is still there. Odyssey is a thing.
For
it's still
now, yes.
what. All right, I don't know where Odyssey is going to be taken away. So maybe that's what they're doing. Anyways, I don't want to argue about this. We're just trying to wrap the show up.
Okay.
All right. So, anyways, thanks for all watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Every show, Stack Sats and HODL.
Adios.
Adios.